Well, hello and welcome to the From Frustration to Freedom podcast, where my name's Troy Eadie, your host, and this podcast is all about bringing in experts like Jake, who I've got next to me, to help us shift the way that we think so that we can achieve our free version of freedom or prosperity. So welcome, Jake.
Thanks for having me, Troy.
No worries. Yeah, look, I remember going to an SEO workshop, and I could tell both of us were getting a little bit frustrated by that experience. And we ended up just standing out the front chatting for a fair bit.
Yeah.
It was great.
Do
you want to tell people just maybe a bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, so I'm an SEO specialist at Studio Hawk, also the general manager as well. I say SEO specialist in that title because I am still on the tools.
Yeah. But man, that's what I love about you. Like, like I was saying, we were standing at the front of this venue where we were in a workshop. And I just loved how just clear and how focused you were at being a specialist at SEO. And that's what really stood out for me.
Yeah, I think I got a good analogy actually. It's like when you have the old handyman with the digital agencies, there's a lot of digital agencies offering multiple sort of services, but we just made a decision to be the plumber. If if you've got a leak, you don't call the handyman. If you've got a leak in your toilet or whatever, you'll call the plumber. You'll get the specialist in, right?
Yeah.
We're the same. We just made a decision to go, we want to be the best at SEO. We want to be the best in the world. So let's just focus on one service. So we're not diluting our time and expertise into other service offerings.
Yeah, good. So Jake, can you tell us, you break it down really specifically. Let's say you're going to take me on as a client.
Yeah.
And then let's walk through, well, what is it you need to understand about my business? And then what are the exact steps that you and your team would do, like specifically, just so that me and our audience can understand, really specifically what an SEO person does, which then gives them the result of all these amazing leads and unlimited money.
Yeah. Oh, let's do it. Love to take you through the process. So one of the things we do is find out, we get you to do just a list of all the services and sub-services that you offer.
Yep.
And then from that, we'll go and do a keyword research. So we'll understand, what your audience is, what are they searching for, matching it up with their language and what they're searching.
Yep.
And we can give you volume, how competitive it is, and then the cost per click if you want to do ads.
Yeah. Okay.
And then based on that, we can build a bit of a clearer picture on where we want to laser focus first. So we might find sales performance, all those keywords are like a starting point because they're not that competitive. They've got high volume and it needs supply for the demand, right?
Yep.
Great. There's the first one. We focus on that. Once we start getting the ball rolling with that, we're nailing a few keywords, move on to the next one. What's the next one that's not as competitive? And naturally what you find by targeting these ones that aren't as competitive and then incorporating a lot of the competitive terms in there naturally to complement both, you'll start ranking for that organically without having to put much effort into it.
Yep.
So by the time you come full circle and you come to the most complex or hard ones to actually rank for, you've got all this authority, you've got all this substance that you're already ranking for, which will make it a lot easier to go for that more competitive stuff and it'll give you much more of a better run. So that's kind of like our approach.
Yeah. So list of products, services, and then you do the analysis to find out what keywords, which ones you would target in which order.
Yeah.
So let's say we've done that now. We've got our plan. We've got particular keywords we're going to launch in an order. So let's pick a keyword.
Well, first we have to find out if you're a good fit.
Okay. Yeah.
So we do qualifying because we reject a lot of people that come our way just because we need to know that we can foresee it being valuable.
Yep.
So a lot of the things we do is we go, we ask you those questions, understand the business, how much value, like what's the average value of a client or a lead that comes through.
Yep.
And generally that's pretty private because we kind of like figures because that way we can get an understanding of, okay, if you're spending $2,000 a month, and we get how many leads do we need to get for you to break even and then get 300% return on investment.
Yeah.
And that kind of like we can kind of get a gauge of how long it's going to take. Because if you come to me and say, we make 50 cents or $1 profit on every sale or lead we get, we're going, oh crap, so for $2,000 you're making $1, that's 200 leads a month. Not possible.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So you can say whether it's going to be feasible or not.
Exactly.
Because ultimately, again, coming back to what you were saying, is that if this isn't a long-term sustainable client, if they can't sustain this, then there's no point in you even starting.
Exactly.
I say this too with our clients, that you get 3, 6, 12 months from now, and if it's not working, the only person you're going to blame is me.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's never
so
their
I'm
fault.
going to say that up front. Yeah.
Yeah.
You need to do this, and this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point in starting.
Yeah.
So for us, for your clients, it needs to. So there's an average dollar sale for a lead.
Yeah.
And then that needs to stack up with the amount of potential traffic based on their conversion rate, which then gets what they should get. So if there's a monthly fee for the SEO, then they need to make sure they get a return on that, so that it's then sustainable for the lifetime of the relationship.
How long it's going to take. That's the big one, right?
Right.
And also another big question we ask is, when do you expect to start seeing a return on your investment? Or when do you hope to?
Yeah.
And when do you hope to, if I was going to ask you that question?
Oh, well, the sooner the better.
Yeah.
But I think, for us, starting this podcast, creating all the content, my long-term objective is I just want to be an authority in my field. So I think by Christmas next year, I'd like to have a pretty solid presence, state of authority.
If you're spending $2,000 a month, when would you would be willing to wait till Christmas next year to make that return on investment?
No, I think you'd probably want it sooner if you were and look, an average dollar sale client for us is under 20 grand.
Yeah.
So it's about that 18 grand mark. So it wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't think.
So one lead converted.
Yeah.
It would be pay for the whole campaign.
Yeah.
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 So we really love high value clients like that, because especially when you get cars, houses, all high value stuff is good, because campaign is going to seem like peanuts, especially when we get that first lead. It just pays for the next 2 years or year or whatever, right?
Yep.
And they're really easy campaigns and very successful. In fact, they're the ones that generally do the best, because even if we're getting 2 or 3 a month, they're obviously doing really well out of it.
Yeah.
The reason we ask that question is because we get a lot of people who will go, "Oh, we expect it to happen in a couple of weeks." We go, "Oh, it's not going to happen." And that's when we need. We know where they're at. And we know, okay, cool, we need to do a bit of education around what SEO is and how long it takes.
Well, our normal sales pipeline is around about 2 months.
Yeah.
So, I would probably expect that we'd be able to do something in 2 months.
Yeah.
We have a very strong database and channels already. So I think the value, I'm just assuming here, if I was to work with you, would be nailing the message, nailing some content, and then distributing that. And I'd expect something would come from that in at least a quarter, surely. Yeah,
well, I mean, that's the thing. You got to look at the data and see what is there, because at the end of the day, I mean, I only make recommendations, or everything that I say is based on data. I don't have any opinions, or sometimes I do, but it's really got to be data backed. I'm not going to say to you, okay, 6 months should see a return on investment. I don't know that unless I look at the data. What does the data tell me? It might be 12 months before you start seeing it, based on how competitive it is.
There you go.
And then at least we know how to attack it from there. If we go, okay, it's going to be 12 months. All right, what's the best strategy? And is that normal? And how much return on investment is that going to be if we get one lead out of that 12 months? Oh, like you just said, it'll pay for the whole lot. So it's really just evaluating that and making sure we get everything lined up, so we understand that if we're going to go ahead and do this, it's going to be valuable for both of us. Because I don't want to risk my reputation. I don't want to waste your money or your time or mine.
Yep.
I'd rather work on ones that I know I'm confident in, because I've done it before. It's going to see a return.
And that really comes in with the analysis up front.
100%. Yeah.
So you've got two things. One is you'll be able to say, this is how long I think it'll take.
Yeah.
And the other one is really they need to decide where they're willing to prepare themselves for that period of time.
Yeah.
So you've got that short term, and then whatever the long, you're obviously hoping for the long-term investment.
100%.
Yeah.
And or not hoping for, because you might have an industry that's actually really easy to enter, and you could get them ranking within 3 to 4 months.
Yeah.
And it's actually not that hard at all, because maybe it's a new industry that, when we started Uber car hire, that was a new industry. Uber was starting to take off in Australia. That was before all the car hire companies started jumping on the bandwagon. So all the your Splends, your U-Cars, all those kind of companies that were doing it, that there was all this demand for it, because all these Uber drivers wanted to hire cars, but no one was offering the service. So they were the first ones to kind of come in and start offering the service. And great, there's all these search terms, and Google needs to pull some kind of result to get in front of those people and give them what they want.
Yeah.
And if you're providing it, then bang, you're there pretty much in, straight away.
Yep.
So it really just depends on that. Whereas you might be in a really competitive industry that's been around, finance is generally really competitive, or
Sure.
property, it's been around for a long time. You've got heaps of people investing lots of money. If you're up against the big 4 banks, they're investing ridiculous amounts of money.
Sure.
How many of the sites you're actually looking at in the first 10 results are actually owned by Commonwealth? All that kind of stuff influencing you with the blog articles that they're writing and those, all that kind of stuff. So there's so much more that we look at that a lot of our clients don't see. But based on that, what we'll do is we basically say, look, we've got a good understanding of the business. We'll go ahead and actually have a little bit of a look. Now, either 2 things will come of this. One, you'll be a good fit, and we'll have an audit in there. It'll give you an overview of everything you expect us to fix.
Yep.
So it'll be in order of priority from urgent all the way down to low. We'll start with the urgent first. Once we knock that off, that'll be basically the low-hanging fruit. Get you the return on investment the fastest, and we'll work our way down month on month. And what you're paying for essentially is hours. So the more hours we have, the more work we can do. The more work we can do, the more results you'll see.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it really is up to you. And we look at what, like if you said, I want the whole market, we would go, okay, that's the biggest price. Like we'd get that price, and we go, okay, what's like basically just enough to get your return on investment, the lowest price. And then what we'll do is we'll just meet a little bit above that, because we want to get our foot in the door, prove value, because you don't know me, I'm a stranger. Like you come to make an increase in your cash flow. You haven't come to be friends.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yeah.
I've been in business previously and have now, and I understand that every decision that we make when it comes to marketing, we want to see a return on investment. It's logical, right? So basically we'll go ahead and look at, understand what that timeline looks like as well is really important. And if you're not a good fit, so that's if you're a good fit, we'll propose that price.
Yep.
And that'll be a monthly investment, no lock-in contract.
Yep.
And it's really important we don't do lock-in contracts, because you want to feel like we're providing value every month. And also you don't feel like you're under pressure to be in this relationship.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
Also gives us an out too, because if you become that really difficult client who just is, abusing our account managers every week, then we can say, look, sorry, it's not going to work.
Yeah.
And we don't want to work with people like that. We want to work with people that really partner with us and believe in what we're doing, and those campaigns flourish.
Yeah, if you wouldn't treat your team member like that, so
No,
why
exactly.
would you treat a supplier like that?
We want people to see us as like a extension of their team.
Yeah.
Like treat us like we're their own staff.
Yeah.
The other option is, if you're not a good fit, what we'll do is we'll give you an audit on the house. We normally charge $600. So it'll outline everything. So all those issues, you can do it all yourself. It'll explain what it is and how to fix it.
Yep.
And then what we'll do is we'll provide that, we'll give that to you, and then we'll actually take you through it so you understand everything. So we'll spend half an hour going through it all in detail. And then we can either offer to refer you a web developer to come in and fix some of these things, or we can refer whatever you need, a business strategist like yourself, come in and do a strategy, get the right strategic partners. But we're very clear we just offer the SEO. We don't, we don't, that's all we do. We're not web developers or anything like that, but we can see they can come in and help you in those areas. And we do those introductions. And then what we do is we check in every 3 to 6 months. We just go, hey, just wanted to check in. How's everything going? Have you been executing those things and we can see, so we know if they have or haven't.
Okay.
And those that have, we go, cool, they're actually serious about it, and they're probably going to be a good fit once they get past all these issues and start generating traffic. Just something, some kind of keywords that we can work with, because it's a lot harder, like in business with a startup, it's a lot harder to get your rankings to be on the board at the start than boost what you currently got.
Yeah, sure.
So we don't, and there's a long waiting period. A lot of the time you're just waiting. So what we like to do is we like to get people to do it themselves. They understand the value, how hard it is. They appreciate us a lot more when they come out the other end and like, yes, it works. I'm getting leads. It's great, but please take it off my hands.
Yeah, good.
And we're like, yeah, cool. And that's what we're here for. We jump in. And that happens quite a lot. We get a lot of people, 6 months, 8 months down the track. Yeah, it's working. I've got my first lead. It was awesome. And they love it because they did it themselves.
Yeah.
And then we kind of come on at that point. So we never leave anyone high and dry. It'll either be one or the other. We do get sometimes the ones that are just like, they're nowhere near ready. They have no idea. And then why we're building the learning center.
Yep.
So they can go down that road.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
But let's say you're a good fit.
Well, let's just summarize for a second, because I think this is really important, because what I think is where you're really standing out, or for those listening, what we should be looking for when looking for an SEO company is someone that's going to put, like, the whole point of this conversation was to determine what happens, but we've spent a huge amount of time determining if we should even start.
Yeah.
And so, if someone's given you a quote over the phone, Yeah, if someone's given you a quote returned by email and they haven't taken you through this process, that's your first red flag.
Yeah.
And then when you do talk to someone that's spending all this time, maybe think beyond the price.
Yeah.
And think, because it's really the analysis, getting really clear around what you're going to be targeting, if it's worth targeting, getting an understanding whether it's going to be fruitful over a long period of time. So will it work short term, and then will it overall achieve your long term targets?
Yeah.
If it meets all of that criteria, then you should start SEO.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's say
you're a
we're
good
on
fit.
board.
All right, done. So generally I would send through the proposal and I'd say, look, you're a good fit. We can see a fair bit of value in doing a campaign with us. Just tee up a time to go through over the phone to take you through everything. We'll tee up a time, and then basically we'll start from the top and work our way down. I'll tell you a bit about us, why we do what we do, why we love doing SEO, and why we just focus on SEO, what you expect to see us do as we're working through it, how the reporting works, all that kind of stuff. Then we go into the audit, explaining what's wrong with the site, what we need to focus on in order of priority, so urgent all the way down to low, and then how that's going to roll out in the first 3 months. Because the first 3 months is crucial, because that's kind of like your setup phase, right?
Yeah, sure.
That's just knocking off all the big issues that have just been holding you back all this time that you probably don't even know about.
So can you give us some examples? Like, so what typically happens in the first 3 months?
In the first 3 months, we always fix all the issues with the site. We can even do, sometimes there's not as many. We can get it done the first month. Great, because the idea is it's generally the first 3 months we focus on fixing on site while we're doing the outreach to those bloggers, etc., to link to you to get those rankings going, and then content as well.
Okay. Yep. So there's fixing of the site, which is what, just making sure the site, the back end of it is clear for Google to be able to, like, its robots to be able to read, versus it might look pretty, but is the back end not mechanically great?
Exactly. A lot of the time it's the code.
Okay.
Or the server. It can be, the sitemap that haven't got one, the robots TXTs, when they migrate over to a new site, it's still blocking all of crawlers coming to the site, so it doesn't even come up on Google.
Really?
Yeah, we've seen it all. Or the server's located over in the US and it's got to travel the server time to be able to get the information to come to the user's phone or desktop. It's just the travel is just slowing the page right down.
Right. So, so load speeds.
Yeah.
If you click on links, all the pages work, the back end code works, sitemap.
It's fast. Being fast is a really big push that Google's been focusing on last year.
Okay.
Because the mobile first index, everyone's on their mobile now. 70% of users are on a mobile device. Yeah. So it needs to be fast. That's been a real big push, but also the language that's used as well. So there's a big rush to React, JavaScript, and Angular as well, and not rolling that out correctly. I've seen there's a lot of technical stuff that a lot of people aren't rolling out correctly. Yeah, okay. And I think that can really affect a business and also the long-term growth, because if you're not focusing on this issue, you're never going to grow. We need to knock this off first, and then we can start moving forward. Yeah. So that's kind of like the first 3 months, if that makes sense. Yep. And it's in our interest to knock that off.
So you're getting the site technically fast, get it right, get everything easy. You're reaching out to people that would be appropriate to start syndicating content, for example, or reproducing or writing the content.
Yeah, most of it's going to be there's a blogger who's writing an article, and we can see that they've written an article previously to a competitor, for example. Yeah. And they go, cool, they qualified. So we'll reach out to them and go, hey, I don't know if you're writing a new article. We've actually got someone in this space. We noticed you linked to so-and-so. Right. They actually have done this. Have you heard about that? Go, cool. Yeah, I'd love to link to that. We've actually got an article coming up soon. Or you might just have, there's all different types of techniques. We've got Skyscraper, Moving Man, guest posting. They're the three main techniques we use, and over the years we've built relationships with a lot of bloggers internationally, most of them being .com, because it's the most powerful domain to be linked from. Okay. So yeah, those relationships is pretty cool. Now we can just basically call them up. So
getting other people to talk about you.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, good. I did not know that.
Yeah, that's like, I mean, if I can take you down sort of history lane for a second, I can explain Sergey and Larry, when they started Google, it was all about finding, when they were studying, they were looking at different sources of information and how can I find the master source, right, based on references. And that's where the PageRank algorithm came from. Was literally they had all these books that were citing the original source, and that's how they found this is the best source of information. Right. So they mimicked that for the internet. right?
Yeah, okay.
And that's fundamentally, they're those links.
Right.
Citations. So that's fundamentally how Google is built.
Yeah.
And it's never changed. You always hear that the lines are being, the last couple of years, Google's tried to blur the lines a lot because they don't make money from organic search. You can't forget that, right? They're only building the value by building trust because people go, this is great content. I'm going to keep coming back to this search engine.
Yeah.
Hopefully they click an ad on the way in that cycle. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
So they've tried to blur the lines a lot. I think a lot of agencies have, because of that, have been, I guess, swayed in the wrong direction.
Get distracted,
and they've lost the fundamentals of how it was built. So
the fundamental core technology is still there, which is finding the key source of a piece of information that someone's looking for. So instead of getting the summary of a book, Google's trying to get you directly to the source of that book.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly.
So you might be a lawyer or an accountant, and when someone types in, business advisory accountant in Melbourne, it's trying to find the source for that in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And so how it does that is by, if you've got articles, if other people have articles talking about you as the business advisor accountant in Melbourne, then that's how you're going to get ranked.
Yep.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah. So after you set up the site, it's then about finding all of these people that are going to write articles
while producing good content at the same time. Because so generally it goes from fixing the issues. Once the issues are fixed, yes, you have dribs and drabs, broken links or whatever that'll pop up in the months to come. But we just fix that. It doesn't take much time. They're not big issues.
Yep.
Then we're also doing the outreach, but we're not focusing. We're probably doing 70% focused on on-site and content, and then 30% outreach. But once we've fixed the issues, that's where it gets exciting, because now we can start focusing that time on more link building, but also focusing on better quality content and educating you on how to structure it better so people read the whole thing, how to make it load faster. Things like, having 650 to 700 pixels wide so people can easily read it. People, they have full width page content. No, people don't like reading like that. Sure. Font size is too small. Colors not right. Like, there's all that kind of stuff that affects how people read.
And you seem to talk a lot about articles and words. So people are still consuming a lot of content via words.
100%. I think video, like the way it's structured, is really important, because you can have an article that's got videos and podcasts in it. In fact, the conversion is going to be a lot higher if you've got a video, some kind of media in it. By absolute least, you have to have a photo or an image of some sort in there. Otherwise, it just is not going to be as valuable as someone who has one.
Sure.
But if you're putting video and podcasts in there, like 100%, you're going to be performing better than your competitor, because if they've written the same content but they don't provide a podcast or a video, well, who do you think Google's going to prefer to pick?
Sure.
Because they know that's going to be more valuable for the user.
So it sounds like there's a really good balance of audio, visual, words.
Yeah, but in an article kind of
content
format.
In an article format.
If you wanted to focus purely on video, you probably hang out on YouTube a little bit more and optimizing how you're ranking in YouTube, etc.
Yeah. So what would you say to someone that might be thinking to themselves, well, it's hard to write content for my industry?
That's a really good question. I think it's either time or money. You just have to pick one. And
more specific, because for me as a business consultant, it's some people might look at us that sell nuts and bolts and think, or like a manufacturer of a product might look at us and think, oh, it's easy for Troy to come up with content around what he talks about. But for me, it's different, because I sell screwdrivers.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
What would you say to people like that?
I think this is where we can kind of really provide a lot of value, because in our monthly reporting, we actually provide blog topic recommendations on what they should cover with all the keywords that they should mention. And we can find that information for them. And 9 times out of 10, someone that would say that and go, okay, we've done this research and we found, all these terms that people are searching for. Like, oh, what? People are interested in that? Oh, I could write about that for days.
Oh, really? Yeah.
And then they go, all right, cool, let's get into
different
it.
types of screws or bolts
exactly.
or whatever.
Like, are really people really interested in that? Like, yeah. Like, but
well,
if
the product is interesting enough for someone to buy, then there's enough to talk about.
Totally agree.
Quality, history, reasons for, against.
100%.
Okay, yeah, good.
And even just definitions as well. Like, people are even just trying to understand what they are. Someone might be trying to understand certain types of nuts and bolts for the shed that they're building or something.
Yeah.
You want to be in front of that, because if people are trying to understand that and they go, oh, you know what, these guys actually just sell it. Why don't I just buy it from them? It'd be so easy. I understand it now.
Yep.
So I think, again, back to the transactional and the educational, informational keywords, you want to be meeting at both points.
Yeah.
Because, if people are trying to understand and they're, Googling and asking questions, you want to be in front of those questions.
Yeah.
Whilst the conversion rate isn't as high as something that's more transactional, you still want to be in front of it because you're building trust.
Well, that's right.
It's good for your brand as well.
Yeah. 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 Well, do you know the stats on how many people aren't ready to buy? There must be, Glenn, my business partner, knows them. There's a particular amount of people that are searching but not yet ready to buy.
Yeah.
So they have a problem.
Yeah.
I don't know, I need to get my car serviced. You need to, but you're not yet ready to.
Yeah.
And then you might start looking, or you might start comparing, and then eventually you'll maybe, I don't know, it gets bad enough that the car the tire blows or something, and then you're just like, shit, it needs to get serviced.
Yeah. I shouldn't have ignored it. Yeah.
Because I imagine there'd be a lot more people researching than ready to buy.
Yeah.
Do you know what?
It's not like 3 or 6% are only ready to buy.
Right now.
Yeah.
So the amount of people ready to buy right now, it's 3 or 6%.
Yeah. No, it doesn't surprise me. I think whilst a lot of people can get that information, it's also the user journey as well. You might come back and forth to multiple articles on the same site, but you're not ready. You're not at that transactional stage yet, right? Coming back and forth, but how to track that? A lot of people find it hard to track, and I think actually Salesforce do a really good job at that. They can actually track, being able to track, the whole user journey. So if you've been at 10 different channels, 5 different websites, and come back to the site, or you saw an article on LinkedIn and then you click back and then you Googled it and come back, you can actually see all those touch points.
Wow.
And, obviously Salesforce is, quite expensive, but if you can get that, if you're a large enough company, you can get that kind of data and, make decisions based on that. You can really be educated on.
It shows you where to tip more time in, doesn't it?
100%.
Yeah.
And you can know where to attribute the right channels. Because another thing that a lot of people don't realize that I get, I think was a bit of a wake-up call when we started explaining to clients this kind of attribution model. But a lot of the influence comes from social media, right? Where the searches come from. A lot of that influence is there. So a lot of people think, well, why do I even bother with social media if it all comes from Google anyway? Because they're seeing a lot that's coming from Google.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to say, well, they only searched it because they saw an ad on Facebook and they got excited about traveling to Fiji for the week. And they've Googled, traveling or booking flights to Fiji or accommodation in Fiji. They've only done that because it was influenced by an ad, or maybe one of their friends went. So knowing that information, then attributing it, and then investing based on that's why data is the most valuable commodity in the world now.
Yeah, sure. Well, yeah, it takes the ambiguity out, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah.
So if we backtrack a little bit, understanding SEO, there's a significant amount of time and effort up front to get it right first.
Yeah.
So who are we targeting? What are we targeting? What could be the result of this? And is it financially viable for this business? And are the owners or directors willing to invest that initial period to get some kind of result from that point onwards? It should be self-sustaining. Otherwise, you're not going to take them on.
Yeah.
Once you take them on, you're getting the site all technically right, easy to find, easy to search, speed, things like that. Then you're starting to create great content based on the keywords. And so you're either doing that in-house and then they're getting you to help them, or they're outsourcing it.
Yep.
And then you're also getting other people to talk about them as well.
Yep.
Cool. So then what?
Then the ongoing piece.
Yep.
The ongoing piece is to keep the content coming out high quality and to keep that authority coming in from the link building. They're the two things you want to focus on and get in that cycle of being consistent every month of that coming in. Because what will happen is as your rankings go up from the authority coming in, also your keywords expanding because you're writing about more stuff, so you can start ranking for more stuff. That's the perfect scenario, right?
Sure. You
want to be increasing your rankings, but also ranking for more keywords while you're increasing for them. And then, as you get to a point where you might get stuck, and you might get to a point where you're not, you're at the bottom of the first page and you want to get the first position, then you can start doing what we call content pruning, which is pretty exciting. It's where you've got a lot of content and you might have 5 articles that are all touching on the same topic. You can consolidate into one,
right,
and then redirect out of the 5 to the highest performer, and then basically Google will give you a bit of a boost because you're consolidating all your content into one, into a long form piece.
Okay.
And we see great little boosts from that. And then you'll find that it'll give you a bit of a boost in terms of, adding in topics or whatever that your competitors haven't that are ranking number 1.
Right.
And that that's what really quite helps. And it's really good. And it gives you an opportunity to link internally to other articles that are really valuable.
Yeah.
So really looking at that, sort of fine tuning it, making sure that the content is the best that's available for the searcher's perspective.
Yeah.
So Google really does know that it is the best that's available, because if it's not, then why are they going to rank you number 1?
That's right. Yeah. Why would they send you there?
Exactly.
Because then the searcher's not going to be happy. Then then it's going to blame Google for that. Not you. Yeah.
And I might go to DuckDuckGo.
Shh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look, it's all about that setup, the analysis first, then the setup, and then ongoing. And it's really about being that original source of information.
Yep.
That develops the trust, and then from the trust comes the purchase.
Yep.
Yeah, which is what everyone... And look, I always say to clients, like, the amount of energy they put in the back end, they need to put in the front end.
Yep.
And, we just talked about a client life cycle from when they come and talk to you. But, I always talk to Rob and say, because my job in our business is strategy, so marketing and sales. And then, Glenn looks after operations admin and the consultants and the team underneath him. But I always say, like, I have my own product. The podcast is a product. The content that's being distributed is a product.
Yeah.
And so if you think of it from that respect, you've got to break it down into, all the different levels of detail. Like, most people think it's just generating a lead. So what is that? Just an ad, click a button, here's a lead. Like it's a whole business in itself, generating the content, the website, the socials, all of that is really where, you're pretty much encouraging people to spend a lot more time.
And what audience are you encouraging to come and interact with you? Because that's another thing as well, is like, don't just write articles for the sake of getting in front of more people if it's not your right audience. Otherwise, you're just going to be encouraging people. We've seen, like, firsthand businesses focus that come to us and they've been focusing on the wrong audience, and they've just encouraged so many time wasters, and their businesses have struggled because they're constantly trying to handle these calls coming in and emails and leads, but none of them are a good fit.
Yeah.
All that time has been wasted when they could have been focusing on people that are a good fit.
Yeah.
And then those ones that are a good fit aren't getting the best service available because they're not getting the attention because it's distracted elsewhere.
Yeah.
I think that's a really important part of it as well, that a lot of people just overlook, and they just think the more the better.
Yeah.
Even if you see only 20 searches per month, those 20 people that are searching, even just out of 5, could be like really high quality. Then go for that. Don't go for something that's got 2,000 searches per month but is really broad and your competitors are already ranking for, and if someone comes from that isn't really a good fit.
Yeah.
Be specific. Be focused. What is your audience? Who do you want to be in front of? Because at the end of the day, we've ranked really well for just SEO, and in Australia, and that with all the PR that we've been doing, and the amount of people that we get come through that are just like, I'll give you $50 if you do all my SEO. It's like, no, that's not how it works.
No.
Like, and just people who just like don't understand at all what SEO is, or that they're just wanting a quick quote or something like that, and then we just don't have the time to do that.
No,
like we can't.
It's the opportunity cost, really. Like,
it is.
What's it costing you to do all of that?
Yeah,
yeah. Like, we've got a client of ours, a plumber, and one of the first things I did when starting to work with him is define, who is the ideal client, because there's a lot of builders out there, but there's some builders that only do a small amount of houses. Some builders do commercial, some do industrial, some might do multiple commercial properties. And so, but like the difference between all of those builders determines the skills in your team, determines what machinery, what tools, how many vans, what's in the vans, or do you have trucks with trailers? It determines a whole lot of stuff. And then the size of those projects determine how many of those projects you need in order to achieve your target.
Yep.
And, we were able to boil it down to this next financial year. You only need 7 projects at a certain amount. So 7 projects from a commercial-based builder where the plumbing element is around about $500,000. And that then just grows that business that bit more. But it already suits the team's skills. It suits their equipment. Keeps all of their bobcats and stuff busy. Perfect. But and so now instead of doing so many tenders, they can be laser focused around what they're doing.
Yep.
So it
And
really
they can be really good at it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I think a lot of people know they need an ideal client.
Yep.
But I think even today, just talking to you, I think it's just put so much more weight on that. Even from an SEO perspective, you want that to work. You need to know who you want it to work for.
Yeah.
And I can see how if you go to an SEO company and they don't put enough time and energy into that to start with, or even be firm enough to not even take you on if you're going to try and target someone that's not going to be worthwhile, then it's just setting the whole relationship up for failure.
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the biggest telltales, is knowing that if an SEO agency is too eager to take you on and they haven't asked the right questions or done the research, there's a pretty big warning sign they're after your money and not really after providing value.
Yeah, sure.
I think that's a pretty quick telltale. Also, I think it's really important for business owners to really understand just the basics. I mean, it's not that hard. Just get on YouTube. Moz does a really good beginner's guide for SEO. That's, it might take a couple of hours of your day, but at least you know what you need to be looking for, and you know what is valuable when an agency is doing work for you and what they should be working on.
Yeah.
I think that you can't get around it. I know that it's hard because you get a lot of businesses that get taken advantage of because they don't have time to understand SEO, so they pay an agency to do it for them. But then they didn't know that the agency actually doesn't know how to execute the way they needed to do, and they don't have the expertise, and then they lock into a 12-month contract. The value doesn't get provided. They come out the other end. They go, whoa, that was a total waste of money.
Yep.
We didn't see any value out of it.
Yep.
But if they'd have known at the start, at least the foundations, and asked those right questions, and they'd understand if the agency isn't asking those questions, then there's probably a good sign that they maybe don't have the expertise to be able to help them.
Yeah.
Because there's different levels, different businesses need different levels of expertise as well. I think that's a really important thing to understand. You might not need an agency that's got lots of expertise because they're more technical and focusing on bigger companies, and it's not really for you. It's going to be too much money to do something really quite basic. Or you might need just something really basic and then, work your way up. Or if you're a big company, you might need,
So it really does just come right the way back to taking it slow when starting.
Yeah.
Really making sure, what strategy are you going to run? Who are you going to target? Why are you targeting these people? What do you expect to get from it? Yeah.
And enjoy
getting
the ride.
all of that.
Enjoy it. Have fun.
So you've got a white paper or something with a lot of this content in it, is that right?
We've got a white paper on international SEO.
Yep.
So for anyone who wants to go into another country or target another language, this white paper is really good. We've really looked at the fundamentals of what you need to focus on, because when you start getting into international territory, it gets really complex, and it's really hard just to comprehend where everything's at and who you're targeting, because you got to think you got another language in the mix now. It's like another whole campaign in itself, or another country. You might have multiple languages in that country.
Yeah.
So, or maybe multiple search engines that are different languages that you're focusing on. And we love doing international SEO stuff. So it's a lot more challenging.
Yeah, no, it's great. And look, I'm sure. So if someone's wanting to understand more about the principles around where to start or how you help them, I'll just get Rob. You can put a link somewhere around here so that they can download it.
I've got some stuff I can provide for sure. Yeah, and then we've also got there's another tool there that called Keywords Everywhere.
Okay.
Now that is it's an awesome tool. It's free. You just give them your email and then you get a little license key. And then when you do a Google search, it'll basically tell you how many people are searching every month, the cost per click, and the competitiveness out of a score of 100. So
Perfect.
It's awesome because people go, what are the keywords?
Yeah.
You get keywords everywhere, and you can start looking at it. That just pulls it straight from Google's keyword planner tool.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
Yeah,
as
good.
you're Googling, and it also tells you related search topics as well.
Yep.
So it might not be the right keyword you've entered that you thought might be popular, but there might be one that's like
So suggested ones.
yeah.
Gotcha.
And then it'll tell you competitiveness and volume.
I can see people losing many hours.
Oh yeah, I've gone down some big wormholes. It's a great tool, but yeah, you got to be careful.
So, Jake, before we wrap up, this podcast is all about going from frustration to freedom. Specifically, helping people shift the way that they think, so that they can achieve a different result. Because how you think determines what you do determines a result.
Yeah.
So the example would be, how I've been thinking about SEO has pushed me into actions, e.g., purchasing ads, which has got me a certain result. So, what are some of if we were to wrap up, what would be one or two of the key ways that if you could say to the audience, shift your thinking from this to this, and you'll get a better result?
Learning.
Yeah.
I know there's some people that just don't have the time, don't want to do it, but you just have to. You don't, how serious are you if you're not willing just to read an article and spend a couple of hours to understand it? Just learn the fundamentals at least.
Yeah.
Get onto Moz, read the Beginner's Guide to SEO, and from there, even if you don't remember it all, there'll be triggers in there. So when you are having the conversation with another agency, or whenever the conversation comes up internally, when the words are mentioned, it'll trigger your memory and it'll come back to you.
Yeah.
And then I think that's really the
So the
important
thinking
part.
pattern might be, I don't understand it, and you're pretty much suggesting, don't be one of those people that just says, I don't have time or don't know about it, so I'm just going to outsource it.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're saying really just take some time, learn about it, understand it for yourself, so you have some basic criteria, so you can then go out and choose something
100%.
and have a better chance of it actually working.
We do it for most industries. Like even when we're just going to get a coffee in a new suburb, we're already researching and trying to understand a little bit about the best cafes in that area. Even just simple stuff like that, or purchasing a new car. What are some things that I need to know about purchasing a new car so I don't get ripped off?
Yeah.
We all do it every day, so why not do it for SEO?
Yeah.
It's I don't see it as a big obstacle, and it's the largest inbound digital marketing channel in the world.
Yeah.
It's a no-brainer.
And I think you've just touched on a bigger philosophy there. Like, so many people want, I don't know, say freedom, say prosperity, say SEO that works and delivers a result. But, if you look at prosperity, if you want to be prosperous, well, how much time and energy are you putting into being prosperous? Are you tracking and managing your money, or are you just hoping that it goes well? And so I think what you're touching on is to slow down, really go into the detail, analyze, plan, learn, and make almost a decision slowly.
Yep.
And then make sure it's the right thing, and then go in eyes wide open, and then make that decision, and then hopefully follow it through.
Yep.
Because you've made a good long-term decision instead of a rushed short-term cheaper decision.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Think of it as the fact if the more information you have, the less likely you're going to get ripped off.
Yeah. Great. All right, Jake. Well, thank you very much for coming today.
Troy.
And as I was saying to everyone listening, there will be some links where you can get in contact with Jake and some of Jake's tools and the white paper. So we'll make that access to you. But thank you very much for coming.
Thanks, Troy. No, thanks for inviting me in. Appreciate it.
Catch up with you soon. Cheers.
Awesome.
Bye.